Let's face it, some states don't need to be their own states. I live in Oregon. I've always felt that we're very similar to Washington, and they might be better off if we just erase that border along the Columbia River and call it Washagon or something like that. Now, I understand there's about 1 million opinions in the world. I just have one. You might think your state is the most important. In the comments section, tell me why you think that. Basically change my mind. Or if you think your state should have its border erased and joined another state, let me know. So in this video, we have 10 states that I feel are the best candidates to disappear and be divided up amongst nearby states that probably matter more. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Nebraska. Nebraska is one of those states you could drive through for hours and not remember a single detail about it. Its nickname is the Cornhusker State, which is fitting because that's pretty much all they got. Corn. If you're into farming or college football, Nebraska might be mildly interesting to you. But let's be honest, it's just the flat Midwestern void between cooler places like Colorado and Chicago. It's really not a terrible state, but you got to be ready to be living a lifestyle that's not into excitement. Nebraska's population is around 2 million people, which is about the same number of people who will Google what is in Nebraska this year. Spoiler alert, it's still corn. I honestly think that Kansas, which is just about the same thing as Nebraska, need to just erase their border and become one big state. Really, if you're driving across the border of that state from Nebraska to Kansas, Kansas to Nebraska, and you don't happen to see the sign, you will never know what state you're in. If you ask Siri where you're at while you're driving, the response will probably be middle of nowhere. I mean, if they put their state together, maybe they'll get more electoral college votes. There's just not enough people in either state. It's got too much open space. Number 9, West Virginia. West Virginia's greatest achievement was inspiring the song Take Me Home Country Road, but you won't find many people rushing to take the road back to the mountain state. It's one of the poorest states in the US, with a declining population and an economy that seems to be stuck in a coal-powered time warp. The mountains are beautiful. Yes, the people are wonderful. I know quite a few of them. They're amazing people, but you can only sing about them for so long before the reality sets in. With just under 1.8 million people, West Virginia feels like the rural cousin you only see at awkward family reunions. Now, West Virginia used to be part of Virginia. West Virginia's been in bad shape for some time, and Virginia's not. They'd probably do themselves a favor if they went back to being one territory or state. I don't have a problem with the people in West Virginia. Honestly, they're some of the greatest people I know. I have a problem with whoever's running that shit show. Number 8, Montana. Montana is mostly just wide open spaces and rugged landscapes, which sounds really cool in theory, but in reality, it's just like one big nature screensaver. Unless you're really into hunting, fishing, or avoiding human interaction, there's not much of a reason to be here. Montana seems to exist purely for people who think Wyoming is far too crowded. My personal opinion, Montana is one of the most beautiful states we have, especially the western side of the state. Montana also has 9 different areas that are part of the National Park Service. Some are battlegrounds and stuff like that. I think they have 2 or 3 national parks, Yellowstone and Glacier National Park. And Yellowstone only takes up a small portion. They got the Helena, Lewis and Clark National Forest there, the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest, Flathead National Forest, and a few others. And I think that's what Montana should be. I think they should just close it off to anyone else moving in there and just turn the whole state into a giant national park. Sure, not all of it looks like Glacier National Park, but it's still a beautiful state. And it needs to be preserved as best we can. I know nothing like that would ever happen, but I think they should do something. Give them more national parks, state forests, and make it so fewer and fewer people can move into the state. Go visit all you want. Just don't move there. And I don't say that as a Montana person that thinks it's getting too crowded. I just think it's something that should be preserved. Too many people means it's not getting preserved as much. Number 7, Idaho. Yes, we all know Idaho for its potatoes, but can we just admit that potatoes aren't exactly revolutionary? Sure, they're versatile, but is that really something to base an entire state's identity on? I mean, when I said they're versatile, they really are. The French fries, anything else. You could eat potatoes 100 different ways. I mean, Matt Damon even grew them on Mars in that movie, The Martian. If you've never seen that movie, it's a sci-fi movie, but it's just great. And yes, potatoes play a big part in that movie. I always wonder if Idaho was in on that, like their tourism people. Hey, why don't you do a movie and really base it around potatoes? Once you get past the spuds, there's not much else going on in Idaho besides some mountains and a whole lot of empty spaces. It's basically the pantry of the United States, just full of starch. Idaho's population is around 1.9 million residents, which is about the same number of people who currently think TikTok dances count as real art. Idaho would be better off if it just combined itself with the whole national park thing and Montana, because it is a beautiful state and it is getting really crowded. It didn't used to be. It's a great place if you like the outdoors and all that, but they're just getting too many people and they need to start making more national forests and everything else for that state. A quick word from today's sponsor, Cash Frenzy. I travel a lot for this channel, and I'm also married, so right there, I spend a lot of time waiting. And when I'm waiting, I need something to do. So when I'm waiting around, I like to pull out my phone and play Cash Frenzy. What is Cash Frenzy? Cash Frenzy is a free Vegas-style mobile slot app. Cash Frenzy has a huge selection of over 300 free-to-play slots on your phone. I sometimes play them while I'm waiting for my pig to finish its dinner. Yes, I have to sit with her or she gets anxiety. My favorite game is Jungle Giant. Got this whole King Kong thing going on. Play it all the time. This is the same authentic casino experience straight from the casino floor. They've got extremely high jackpot odds with a high chance to hit at least the mini jackpot in just a spin or two. Incredibly high payouts, high rewards, no need to purchase tons of money for virtual coins in-game to hit jackpots. They've got mini games like Coin Mania, Shoots and Rockets, and Seaside Camping, and a bunch more. There's something magical about hitting a jackpot in the parking lot of a Target. You can use the link in the description area below and start hitting jackpots right now with the Cash Frenzy app. If you do, you get 3 million welcome coins right off the bat to get you started. Start hitting jackpots today with the link down below. Back to the video. Number 6, South Dakota. The Mount Rushmore state. Speaking of Mount Rushmore, South Dakota's claim to fame is a bunch of dead presidents' faces carved into rock. Groundbreaking stuff, right? After you've snapped a few selfies with a few dead presidents on the side of a cliff, there's not much else to do. And again, unless you're into fishing and things like that. What else is there? I mean, if you go there, you could fish, you can go see Mount Rushmore, and then contemplate why you came here and wasted days of your vacation. Fun fact, South Dakota is one of the few states with more cows than people. That's mootastic. It's got a population that's just a touch over 900,000, about the same number of people who swore off Facebook but still check it every day. There's really not much going on in South Dakota. They don't have any giant industries jumping out of there past tourism and these days windmills. It just seems like it would be a better state if it combined itself with the next one on our list. Number 5, North Dakota. North Dakota has two things going for it: harsh winters and oil fields. That's it. If you've ever wanted to experience frostbite or see some drilling rigs, North Dakota's got you covered. It's one of those places you forget exists until someone brings up Mount Rushmore, and then you're like, oh wait, that's in South Dakota. Never mind. With a population that's just under 800,000, North Dakota's biggest contribution to society is giving us Fargo, both the city and the much more interesting movie and TV show. North Dakota is ranked 19th in size, but 47th in population, meaning hardly anyone lives in this state. This state is 70,706 square miles. Rhode Island has 1,545 square miles, and it has about 250,000 more people. But like I said, in South Dakota, they just need to combine these two states, get rid of the whole north-south thing and call it the Dakotas, call it Dakota, turn it into a firing range, whatever. Number 4, Vermont. Yes, Vermont is one of those states that, it'd be better off if it had another state with it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Vermont is like the hipster of states, small, secluded, and way too into maple syrup and flannel shirts. It's basically Canada Light, but without the excitement of, anything. If you're into maple syrup and fall foliage, congrats. Vermont might be your dream vacation, but don't expect to do anything remotely interesting once winter hits. It's so laid back, it might actually be asleep. They need to just join up with New Hampshire so they at least have some beachfront property. Not a bunch, but the state would be connected to the ocean at least. These states are very similar in just about every respect. They're almost like a pair of identical twins. You look at them long enough, you'll see some differences. But just sitting next to each other in a room, they're the exact same person, just split in half. So just erase that line that goes down the Connecticut River on the map. Be the same state, then you'll have two national forests that are named after colors. Green Mountain National Forest and in New Hampshire, White Mountain National Forest. Both beautiful states though. Vermont's population is just over 640,000, which is still fewer than the number of people who will rewatch Friends for the 10th time this year. Number 3, Wyoming. With fewer than 600,000 residents, Wyoming is basically a massive empty plot of land with some cows, a few bison, and national parks thrown in for good reason. It's the least populous state in the country, and it's mostly famous for a giant geyser that erupts less consistently than your motivation to go to the gym. Yellowstone may draw tourists, but what else is Wyoming doing? Probably counting tumbleweeds. Again, like Montana, one of those states that should probably be preserved. To put it in perspective, this YouTube channel has double subscribers than they have residents. Just combine them with Montana, make it a big national park or preserved land, whatever you gotta do. Number 2, Rhode Island. At just 1,500 square miles, Rhode Island is like that one person in your group chat who never says anything, but somehow still gets invited to every party. Yes, it is the small state, but it tries to overcompensate with too many syllables in its official name. The state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantation. Now, just recently, a couple years back, they just changed it to Rhode Island, but that was their whole name for a long time. The official name. Everyone's always just called it Rhode Island. Rhode Island is really just a collection of small towns and one big city. That's it. I mean, technically every state is, but this one, it's a little more obvious that that's all it is, really. Rhode Island's population is just about 1.1 million residents, yet no one knows what actually happens there. For a place named after an island, it doesn't have much of a tropical vibe, just more Dunkin' Donuts per capita than any other state needs. They need to erase the border between them and Connecticut and just make one bigger state. I mean, the entire state's a glorified county. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to a new state, new city, anywhere in the United States, there's a link for a website called Home and Money. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Delaware. Delaware's claim to fame is, wait for it, being the first state to ratify the Constitution. Now that's a life-changing achievement for a state with fewer residents than your average Taylor Swift concert. They love to tout their corporate-friendly laws. That just means they're a legal haven for businesses that couldn't care less about the actual people living there. I mean, the goal of a city or state is to get new businesses in that will employ their residents. Delaware has more corporations in the state than just about any other state, or just about any 5 states combined. And they're just there to park their headquarters or their, post office box, putting out no jobs. I'm sure some do. I'm not saying this is all how it is. Just some of them, that's what they're doing. Delaware's an interesting state. It is beautiful. I gotta admit, outside of Wilmington, it's a very beautiful state. But you could drive across the whole state in less time than it takes to watch a single Marvel movie. Statistically speaking, Delaware has a population of just over 1 million residents. For reference, that's about the same number of people who accidentally followed Delaware on Instagram because they thought it was Detroit. This state needs to quit pretending it's an actual state and just get back together with Maryland. Yeah, up until 1767, the southern part of Delaware was actually part of Maryland. Back in the old days, way back, they had exchanged hands with this place a few times. At one point, it was called New Sweden, and another time it was called New Netherland. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you probably like one of the 2 videos being suggested right now. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.